everything that is happening in the country with the purchasing power crunch, with the high inflation, do you think families, given that the summer vacation is around the corner, do you think the families will still be able to go to the northern areas to be able to afford their vacations? Because a lot of the livelihood of those areas are linked to the domestic travel industry.
I think that's a very important point. I think when it comes to local tourists, Pakistani, I think this is definitely the hike in the price of fuel, petrol, diesel is going to have a negative impact on tourism when it comes to tourism numbers for Pakistanis. But I think at the same time, tourist destinations have all but dried up in the Middle East. I mean, I don't think tourist traffic is going to pick up in the Middle East anytime soon. I think so for that reason, northern areas are going to see a lot of international tourists coming in. So where local tourism is going to go down, international tourism is going to pick up, and this is where the airlines or the aviation sector is extremely important, because I think if they're able to sustain through this crisis, through really good decision making, through optimal decision making, I think they can take in a lot of revenue over the summer.
What kind of optimal decision making? What can they do? I mean, as you yourself pointed out, jet fuel prices increased 150%, so they can't bring down the rates. So what can they do?
I think the first thing that we need to look at is to request the government to look at, to reevaluate its decision to jack up jet fuel prices to 150%, because they are cross-subsidizing. So what they need to do is pass on the price increase to the consumer at the petrol pump, bring down the price hike from 150% to how much it's been in the international market, give targeted subsidies. But then there are a number of different decisions or things that different airlines can do in order to go through this crisis. And I think first and foremost is to develop a crisis management strategy. Every single airline should have a crisis management strategy in which they are looking at their liquidity or cash flow situation every single day or every few hours, because this is definitely something that could push some airlines towards a cash flow crisis. Matter of fact, I think some of them are already facing a cash flow crunch at the moment. So I think that's one thing that they need to do, be very, very dynamic about the information that is coming in. They need to have a really good revenue management strategy. They need to maximize unit revenue, minimize unit cost, and whatever steps need to be taken in order to maximize unit revenue. Plan your business routes, plan your commercial routes very, very carefully. There is no room to be flying airplanes when they are not at least 95%, if the seats are not 95% taken. There is absolutely no room for that. And on the cost side, you need to make sure that there is no wastage, energy-wise, human resource-wise. Just need to get into this frame of mind that we are going to conserve our costs or reduce our costs, minimize them as much as we can. And then finally, on-time performance, because it has been seen. I mean, I think I was reading a study by McKinsey that came out on the aviation sector just a couple of months ago, and it said that every 1 minute delay in departure, airlines, they lose $100. So I think this is something that they can definitely look at, improve on-time performance. So just to recap, make a crisis management strategy, make a revenue management strategy, take really good decisions, and finally, tactical decision making. Make sure that there are no empty seats in the airplanes, because you absolutely cannot afford that at the moment.
If you're talking about the cost of delays, I think the cost that pile up for Pakistan Airlines must be huge. When I travel to Lahore and Islamabad, at the back of my head, I'm always prepared for an hour to 1 hour delay. And often the night before, we get the message that the flight is going to be 4 hours late. So in that scenario, most, if not all, our airlines are making losses. And this current crisis with the 150% hike in jet fuel prices would just exacerbate an existing problem. But then again, your suggestion of passing the price at the pump, the cost hike at the pump, that is extremely politically unpopular. Even with the amount that the government has absorbed, there have been many in the industry, in the populace who think that the government should be doing more. I do not agree. I think if the government doesn't pass it on, we'll be back to the Ukraine crisis era, back to the default. It has to be passed on. But then I do see the government's point of view as well, because nobody wants the effigies being burned on the street because they increased food prices.
Well, you do point towards a very important issue, something that I think our policymakers in Islamabad are constantly worried about. But I think this is where the ability to communicate well comes in. I think I have not seen, I think our policymakers have been so preoccupied with peace building in the region that this side, communicating to our citizens, has taken a hit. I think there needs to be better communication. I mean, people are smart, they are intelligent, they will understand what the situation is, but it needs to be communicated really well to Pakistani citizens.
Yes, I think there needs to be a lot more empathy and I think the political powers have to be a lot more careful about the optics of where they are spending money while they are announcing austerity measures. So because people do notice, if somebody has spending a lot on their mode of transport versus normal people not getting fuel for their motorbikes, then obviously there is going to be blood on the streets.
I would completely agree with you. I think this is not a time to be wasteful. This is not a time to show off. This is not a time to make those expenditures that you could have made in a different time. This is a time to conserve. This is a time to take smart decisions. This is a time to make optimal decisions. And so I think this is what my advice would be to our policymakers.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, just the optics of having a smaller protocol, for example, it might not have any impact on fuel consumption in Pakistan because there are not that many. I mean, how many motorbikes can you really have in a cavalry in the protocol? But just the optics of it, the communication of it, it would be better. So on a different tangent, on a different note, given how well connected you are with the ministries of the GCC countries, I wanted to talk also about remittances in FDI. So GCC countries are extremely important for us. They're important because we buy oil from them, we get credit lines from them, we get loans from them, we need their loan rollovers, we export our labor to them, so we need those remittances. What we don't see, however, is investment. We really need their investment as well. So why wouldn't the GCC countries spend a few $1 billion, which would be like a rounding error for them within Pakistan's economy?
So I think I get this question a lot, and my take on this is that you really have to understand the ground realities of Pakistan's economy before you are looking towards any other country and asking them this question: why do you not invest in Pakistan? The ground realities of Pakistan are such that our labor is not very educated. When it comes to our own region, South Asia, I mean, Pakistan is probably at the bottom when it comes to years of schooling for our labor. So what that means is that the quality of our human capital is very, very low. So whenever somebody in a different country is thinking about investing in, say, Pakistan, they're also looking at the quality of our human capital, which is a function of your educational system and your healthcare system, both of which are in shambles in this country. So if your labor or if your workforce is taking time off because they are sick, and they're sick because they are drinking really bad quality water, if you are closing your schools at the drop of a penny, then your human capital is going to be really poor, and that different investors outside Pakistan are not going to invest. So I think that's one thing that we have to keep in mind, that we are in a competition with different countries. If your neighbors can offer better quality human capital, then obviously the money, international money, is going to go in that direction.
Absolutely. It's a business decision, not a friendship decision, not an ally decision. It's a purely dollars, cents business decision. Thank you so much for coming on my show.
Thank you.
So it was an absolute pleasure having you.